my YouTube channel. I have been asked several times over the last few months to please do a video about tips and tricks for taking photos of your dolls. So I'm going to do that today, but before we get started I need to put a big disclaimer out there, which is I am not a very good photographer. I take the kind of pictures that I like to see, which are close-ups of the dolls. I like to see wigs, eyes, I like to see fashion. So that's kind of the type of photo that I'll always take. And I'm, again, not a professional. So I do not, I'm not, like, I don't read up about photography. I just know some basics, and that's what I use to take all my doll photos with. So I'm taking doll photos mainly for Instagram and for Facebook and for my YouTube channel. Once in a while I'll enter a contest or something, but I don't do that very frequently just because I don't have the, I guess the patience is the right word to put into taking a really great picture. So, but this is what I do for my photos. It's just so that you guys will know kind of what tips I use to take photos. And you can see all of my doll photos on my Instagram account, which is the same as my YouTube channel at Muñecas Pupis Dolls. Step one when you're going to be taking photographs of your dolls is to decide on your equipment. So I'm going to show you my equipment right now. It's really fancy. This is what I use for taking all of my doll pictures. This is a Google Pixel 4 XL. So I use my phone to take all of my pictures. I used to use a Nikon J1 when I first started collecting BJDs to take pictures of all my BJDs. But what happened was I was spending a lot of time and it became not fun for me because I was trying to just get the pictures perfect, and I felt all this pressure to make really good pictures, and it became more like a chore than fun to me. So what happened was it was time for me to get a new phone. I was an iPhone user, and I went through watching lots of reviews of different phones, and the Google Pixel at that time had the best camera, the highest rated camera on the market, and so I switched to Pixel and I haven't looked back since. I really love the photos that it takes. It has a great portrait mode that I use for almost all of my photographs, and it's very foolproof. And so I use this as my equipment for taking all my doll pictures. And it alleviated a lot of the pressure for me for taking photos, and it also made things a lot more fun for me. I can go out, take a couple quick photos, and just do some light editing and then post them, and I feel good, and I've had fun doing it. The other thing about it is that Instagram and Facebook, that's what I take my photos for. They don't preserve the quality of your photos if you're using a really nice camera anyway. So I kind of feel like it's almost a waste to try to take a really great picture and then upload it when they're going to degrade the quality of your photo. So that's the first thing you got to decide. What kind of equipment do you want to use? A cell phone will work perfectly fine if that's what you want to go with, and that's what I use. So like I said in the intro, I'm not a professional here. This is what I go with. Step 2 for taking a great photo is deciding on the concept that you want to use. So for me today, I know that today is Easter and I want to take an Easter photo. So that's my concept. So now what I have to do is I have to pick which doll I'm going to use. And so I've decided that today I'm going to use Justice because she and I are actually matching a little bit. So we've got the same kind of color scheme going on. So I'm going to use her to take the photo. So that is my concept today. I want to take an Easter photo with Justice, and so that's what I'm going to go with. Step 3 is deciding on what setting am I going to take this photo in. So I use one of two settings, inside or outside. So that's very generic, right? But if I'm inside, I will always use my light box. So you can see my light box behind me. And I have a couple of dioramas that I'll change out and use in the light box when I'm wanting to take photos. Now this diorama doesn't really work for Smart Doll because they're a little bit too large. This is a 1/4 scale diorama. But I will use the light box when it's really dark. Like in winter when I get home from work, it's dark outside already and I don't have the opportunity to go outside and take photos. Or if it's raining outside, or if I just have an idea for an inside photo that I want to take. So I'll use the diorama, or I have some different backgrounds that I'll put in the light box and use depending on what sort of photo I want to take. But since this is an Easter photo, I don't want to do an indoor setting, I want to do an outdoor setting. Okay, now I'm outside, and it's actually a very overcast day today, which is perfect for taking photos because you don't get that harsh sunlight in your picture, and pictures come out a lot better. If it comes out too cool, we can add a little warmth to it later in editing, and I'll show you guys how to do that. But an overcast day like this is wonderful, and so I'm very lucky that I have a lot of natural space in my yard, so I have a lot of cool different backdrops to choose from for my photos. So even if you only have a small natural space that you can go to, you can find different backdrops and different sort of scenes that you want to use. So for today's photo, I'm going to use my azalea bush because I am taking an Easter photo, and so that's going to be the backdrop for this picture. So now the next step, step 4, is going to be staging the picture. So when I stage the picture, I want to set the doll up in front of the backdrop, and I want to include any props that I'm going to use. So for today's picture, I'm going to use a little Usatama that I got in Tokyo Disneyland because that is like their Easter mascot, and I think it's really cute, and it's going to be a cute addition to this photo. Now, I rarely use stands for my dolls. I brought Justice's stand just in case I have issues setting her up, but I very rarely use it because I find it more difficult to edit the stand out if I accidentally get it in the photo than I do just to stand the dolls up on their own. I have spent up to 15 minutes balancing a doll perfectly for a photo. So right now I'm going to stage it while you guys watch, and then we'll go on to the next step. Okay, now I have Justice set up exactly as I want her. I have her staged, I have her holding Usatama, and I've got the background in mind that I want. So the next step is to actually take the photo. So I'm going to go to my camera, and I always put it in portrait mode because it just comes out better when it's in portrait mode. Now I'm going to take several photos. I never take just one because I want to see how it looks. There's an important rule in photography, which is the rule of thirds. You want your doll to take up, you want the picture to be broken into thirds. And so I always try to follow that rule of thirds when I'm taking my photos. So I'm just going to take a few shots here. And I tap her face so that the portrait mode will focus in on her face. And then I'll do a couple of different angles just to see if one looks better than the other. So I've just taken loads of photos. Another thing when taking the photos is I don't typically do a full body shot because the full body shot comes further away from the doll and the focus I feel like is less on the face. I do some full body shots, particularly when I want to show off an entire outfit and shoes and everything. But what I like to do is I like to do the top part of the doll because I really want that face to be big and I want it to be in focus and I want it to be just jump right out at the viewer when they're looking at the photo. So I like to have a little prop in the picture to kind of add some interest to the photo, but I do like to do most of my photos up close, so that most of the time doesn't allow for a full length body photo. And now we're going to go in and we're going to edit them. The next step of the process is to go ahead and edit the photos. So I'm going to go look at my photos and I'm going to choose the photo that I want. So I just kind of go through them and decide which photo looks best. This one looks really good because she has a really nice focus on her face. It's done a good blurring of the background. Let's see. I don't like this one because it's too bright on her face, so I'm going to delete those. This one's off center, which I can definitely fix with some cropping, but again, it's kind of too bright, so I'm going to get rid of that one. And then this one's pretty good. If I look between these two, I think I like the first one better, so I'm going to get rid of this. And then on this, you can see this is the regular mode. That's why I like the portrait mode of this camera so much. I'm just going to delete that photo because the portrait mode goes ahead and blurs that background for you. Once I've chosen the photo I want to use, I'm going to do some light editing in an editor called Snapseed. So I use Snapseed to edit a lot of photos. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose the picture that I just did. And the first thing I like to do is I like to look at the actual crop of the picture. So I select crop, and I like to see if the picture follows the rules of 1/3. So if you look, I always like that top line. You see this is divided into thirds. I like that top line to be going through the doll's eyes or nose, and then I know that the ratio looks pretty good. And so it looks like in this particular case, I actually did a good job of lining it up just with the camera itself. So I don't have to really crop this down very much. I can leave it as is because it looks pretty good. So now that I've got that done, I'm going to add a little bit of other touches to the tuning. I like to add a little bit of saturation. I'm not going to add a ton because those flowers in the background, you see if I add a lot, it's going to get crazy looking. But so I'll add maybe like just a hint of saturation. I also always like to add a little bit of ambiance because it just kind of brings everything together a little bit, I'd like to say. And then sometimes I will add a little bit of warmth. This picture doesn't really need it. I don't think it skews too blue, but just to look at it, if I just add a little touch, see if you start adding that, it gets really orange and yellow. But that is helpful if your picture comes out too blue, you can warm it up a little bit. But I'm gonna keep a little bit of warmth on here. So there we go. I've got that completely edited, so now I'm going to save it. Once I'm happy with my photo from Snapseed, I'm going to use another editor called PicsArt to add my logo to the bottom of the photo. People have mixed feelings about this. I always like to add my logo because it identifies my photos as mine, and it also keeps other people, well, it doesn't really keep other people from taking them, but it kind of helps to have your logo or your name on there. So what I do for this is I go to add photo and I choose my logo from my folder. So I'm just going to, well, I chose the wrong place. Let's see, add photo from my gallery, and then I go here, and then I just slap my logo on there. And I use this, Snapseed doesn't have this functionality, so that's why I don't use it. If Snapseed had the functionality to add a photo, I would use Snapseed for this, but it doesn't, so I use PicsArt. So that's all I have to do. And it's a free app. There's a lot of ads. And as a matter of fact, I use this app so much, if they would allow me to do a one-time purchase, I would do it. But they want you to subscribe, and I'm not going to subscribe for $3 a month or however much it is just to be able to add those photos. So now I'm finished with that photo, and I'm ready to post it to Instagram. So I'm going to go to Instagram, and I am going to add the photo here. And so I just put it in the format that it needs to be. Now PicsArt also has a fit functionality where if I wanted to make this square shaped, if it wasn't, I could fit the whole, it'll add the bars around the photo, but I don't need to for this particular photo. So now I'm going to put a caption. And so I'm ready to share now. And there she is, shared on Instagram. Okay, everybody, so that's how I go from start to finish taking a photo for my Instagram account or for YouTube. So it's not very complex. Again, I'm not professional, and I just don't really have the time and patience to devote to learning, you know, photography skills and things like that. So hopefully these little tips that I use will help you out if you're trying to start your own social media account, or you're just wanting to know how to take pictures from a different approach, or even just to make you feel better about not necessarily having the most professional pictures in the world, because I think it's just so much more fun to go out and snap a few photos rather than letting myself get stressed about making sure I have the perfect picture. So anyway, guys, let me know what you think in the comments below. I will link to the websites of the editing apps that I showed you that I use, and if you like this video, please give it a big thumbs up. and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.